Yay!
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. It is Thursday, December 14th. Welcome all of you here. Did you do minutes last time?
I did. They are, hold on, I just printed some out for everybody to review. Unfortunately, I meant to get them out ahead of time.
Sorry I missed the last meeting. I had a garden variety cold. No COVID or anything like that, don't worry.
That's good.
I did my best considering I missed half the meeting. So,
All right, we'll take a quick look at these and we'll approve them. Let's see. I'll approve them if you
if they're okay.
prefer that. Brown was absent too, huh?
I was.
Motion made to adjourn 3:55. What time did the meeting start?
Oh, did I put down the wrong time?
Well,
It was
no.
like, the meeting was about 50 minutes long, 55 minutes long,
Oh,
so
Yeah.
You started at 3 then?
3:05.
Oh,
we
okay.
started at 3:05, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It says it on here.
Oh, all right. Did I put in the right time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, what is the pleasure of the committee on this? You want to approve it? You want to wait till next time after you peruse this in more detail?
Just went through, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? None? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Sue, for doing that.
You're welcome.
I was going to do it this week time, and I'm going to do it next time. And we have handouts here, spreadsheets. This is part of the 5-year capital plan. We're going to be looking at today.
Yes.
We'll do that later, I guess. Okay, so. I took that minutes out of order, but it's okay. We can get going. Is Keith Novo on? I see Kay there. Keith, are you there?
I am here.
Great, loud and clear. Okay, Jim, how do we want to proceed here?
I would just ask Keith to present his capital improvement request for next fiscal year.
Okay, we have it in front of us. Keith?
Okay. So the first one that I have is for the network firewall. It's a firewall upgrade. So our current firewall is 7 or 8 years old now. It's a critical piece of our infrastructure. It provides all of the town's internet connectivity. It protects all the town employee town servers and network from malicious acts from outside on the internet. And like I said, it is a critical device in the town. So it's getting up there in technology age there, and it's time to renew and to purchase a new one. At the same time, I would like to get what I consider a redundant system, because it is a single point of failure. I'd like to put 2 of them in place, servicing the town, so in case anyone fails, we would continue to operate. Right now, all of our data, all of our phone, all of our voice, video, all goes over the internet there. So without having that redundancy, potentially we could be shut down for some amount of time until one particular device is repaired. So over the last few years, I've been putting in redundancy into our system. We have, redundant core switches now. We have redundant network connections and so forth. But this is the last piece that doesn't have that additional piece of redundancy. So I think it's important that we get the new equipment and also to the town's resiliency and network-wise, and get that going. So that is the first one.
Okay, questions for Keith on the first item? Keith, I do recall talking about the firewall in the past, but that was probably not directly related to putting one in at the time. I mean, it was just conversation, I suppose. But did we have a conversation about this? And I thought we had done something with that. Maybe not.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we made the network redundant, but that the firewall is just the single point of failure now. So
Okay.
I'd like to get past that and make everything redundant in the networking world now.
How critical would you say this is at the present time?
I would say it's one of our most critical network components. Like I said, it's a single device that provides our internet connectivity and protects us from the internet.
These days, it's critical to,
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Just go ahead.
When was the existing firewall installed? How old is that?
I don't have that number in front of me. I want to say it was in the 7-year range. I have to go back and look. In network terms, that's already kind of long in the tooth. So you usually want to start replacing things in the 6, 7, 8-year range there. So by the time, if this was approved, by the time we, get the funding and get the new switch in, would be in that period where it should be replaced.
Thank you.
Hey, quick question. Keith, does the school department have the same system? Are we coordinating with them, or are they completely different?
They have, I believe they have a different firewall from what I'm aware of.
Is there any benefit to doing the same thing they've done?
Not at this time. I mean, I don't. I mean, they're separate. They're totally separate connections. So I mean, for that, they don't necessarily have to be the same vendor or manufacturer or anything like that. So I don't see anything at the moment.
Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, Keith, as you know, we're lining these up. We're not making decisions today, but just putting them in
Sure.
priority. So we'll move on to the next one. Is the one on the back, I guess?
There should be 3. I think I submitted. There was fiber cable design.
Right. Yeah, this is the design one.
Okay. So this is a continuation of some of the work that we've kind of done already. As you know, we ran the fiber to all the town buildings. We did receive some grant money to put some loops, 2 loops in the north end of town, so that's been done. We had a high-level drawing, to do what might become fiber to the home. So this funding here, request was to get a more detailed construction-ready engineering plan to do the whole fiber to the home kind of system there. So I had submitted this so that way in the event that there was some funding available, that we would take it into account and have a detailed plan ready and available in case there was additional grant money. We would be able to show the grant applications that we have this plan, and it's we have a system ready to go, kind of the old shovel ready approach where we have something all designed, planned, and ready to go, and we just need money to implement it. This would enable us to have that plan to be able to present for future grant money and so forth, so to be able to move forward.
Keith, do we know if there are a lot of grants in this area?
There are actually. There's there's a few that are out there now. There's a federal one under the USDA that has grant money associated with what we're looking for that could cover a substantial part of town. There's also a state grant, at least one right now that's available. That's a GAP grant that could potentially fund, most of
Keith, hold on just a
the
second.
infrastructure.
We've got interference here. Technical problem. Oh, it's going away.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a fax coming in.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. It's okay now. Go ahead.
All right, so like I said, there's a federal grant and there's a state grant. The monies available could potentially run most, if not all, of the future fiber that we're looking at. So again, having a plan ready, a detailed plan ready to go, shows a certain amount of commitment on the town's part, and looks favorable. It looks favorable to the people that have these grants, showing that we have an interest and a plan in place when we're going forward and requesting this money. So that's why I submitted the request for this funding here.
Okay, questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? And this one is 550,000. Right?
Correct. That is correct.
Would this benefit the town itself, not just the residents, the people of the town, but the town buildings more? Or are all the town buildings currently with the fiber optic? This whole
All the
thing?
town buildings, all the town properties are currently connected with fiber in some way, shape, or form. So the town is covered right now. This would potentially service the community at large, residents and businesses in general.
Now, how does this work with the so-called municipal electric plant that's been discussed at the last two town meetings? That the discussion has kind of surfaced around having a company, if you will, that provides the funding on a revolving basis. That the taxpayers or the users of the system would pay into the system. How does this interact with what has been discussed for the municipal lighting plant?
So the MLP is an entity that the town could create that would allow us to operate a broadband service, providing internet for the community. It's just a separate entity from the town that would be able to, offer this service. They would be able to, set fee rates and contract with vendors to do, to provide the service, or help desk services, or anything needed to operate and fund, providing broadband to the community. So it's just, the MLP is an entity that that just formed to operate, I guess, kind of like an enterprise or a separate business. So that way, they could just operate on a day-to-day basis. And it can, the MLP can form agreements with, like I said, with different internet providers and maintenance contractors and so forth there.
I guess my question is, how does that relate to what you're talking about here, a design plan to deploy fiber to the home networks? I'm not very well versed on the technology end of this, so I'm trying to get my own edification here as to how this proposal, the $550,000 for the design plan to deploy fiber to the home for all residences, how does that compare to what they're talking about with the MLP? I mean, are they completely separate and apart? And why is one needed if the other one may be offered?
Well, the other one still has to get funding. I mean, it still operates like a business, so you would provide services and, you know, and charge fees for those services just like any company would, you know. So the MLP needs to acquire funding, and we're looking at different avenues of acquiring funding. So that funding could be in grants, it could be in, you know, a type of loan, it could be multiple avenues. This would allow us, if we were to get this funding, would help us when we go for a grant, that we'd be able to get, you know, a larger amount of money to bring into the MLP to operate, you know, and deploy this fiber. So this would allow us to do the design up front and help us to acquire future grant money.
Okay, so this is a necessary component to before the MLP funding?
It's necessary, and it's necessary for us to be able to move forward with installing fiber to the home. So whether the MLP is able to come up with money to do it, or whether we can get this funding to help us get further funding.
Okay.
It helps us to get future money, you know, a larger sum of future money to be able to deploy, you know, the fiber to the home.
So Keith, right, the MLP, the Municipal Light Plant, is like a management system or an operating system to manage the fiber optics in town, and there's other options as well. We could have an enterprise fund, you could have it done privately, but this plan, regardless of whether we had an MLP or if we had an enterprise fund, is still needed in order to determine what the cost would be to tie into the individual houses and what the overall cost would be to manage the system. Is that somewhat?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Further questions, comments? Okay, Keith, we'll take that under advisement, as they say. I assume you were softening us up because the next one is a little more expensive.
Yeah, it is. So again, we have run the fiber, like we mentioned, to all the town buildings. We've done the grants for the 2 north loops. As part of the design, there was a central loop in there. Now there's still 4 more loops that we could potentially do, and these fiber loops get us a little bit closer to the neighborhoods there. So from these loops, you would run your fiber into the neighborhoods at that point. So again, this was an effort to complete the 4 loops that we had in our initial design, and get us situated in a place where we would be able to again ask for future grant money, showing that we have, you know, we've already taken the steps to get the fiber backbone in place, get all of our loops in place, and now we're just on that last mile to the home. So the request here was to again get us situated so that way we could ask for, you know, future grant money and so forth, and get us a little bit closer to getting the community wired up with fiber there.
Okay. Well, we just talked about this the other night at the Board of Selectmen, so we're fairly well up to date. But and I think we talked about this in particular, but we won't talk about the sources of funding now. That's another meeting, but this one's pricey. Million one, thereabouts. Comments, questions, concerns?
Question. Could the loops be done individually? Like if we had money for one loop, could we do one?
Yes, we could. Like I said, we've done the 2 north ones, so we've done those as individual ones, and you know, if money was available, we could pick off, you know, one of those rings and start building that out. Yeah.
Keith, I forgot to ask the other night, are the north loops, are they already installed?
They are all it's installed on the pole now. Yes. I think they're finishing up. They had a couple of splice connections to do, and I think I heard they might be doing those this week. But everything's up on the pole right now.
Okay. Further comments, questions, issues, thoughts? Well, okay, I think we all understand what this is. It's something we've been talking about for a while, and it's already starting, and just have to figure out where the money's coming from so we can move forward further. So, unless anybody has any questions, Keith, do you have any concluding comments for all this? Any of these?
No, I think, like I mentioned the firewall one first. I mean, obviously for me, that's, obviously the most important thing, directly beneficial to the town. So, I hope we can come to some resolution on that one. The other two, it was just, I wanted to, put them out there, so if there was available funding, we would just keep those in mind, so, that's all.
So you're saying the firewall is the most critical of these three? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
All right. Okay, any concluding comments? If not, well, thank you for your presentation and give this due consideration. I wish you a good evening.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, Keith, take it easy. See
All
you
right.
around.
Take care. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Okay, the next one I assume is Jim, Town Hall and Town Annex.
Yeah, so a couple of these we talked about at the last meeting. This will be on the larger spreadsheet. I don't have individual request forms, but the first one will be the Town Hall Annex HVAC system. We put about $60,000 into it this year. We replaced 2 of the units. We have 2 more in the main part of the building, and there's 4 units in the basement. Those units are at the end of their life cycle. We've been asked to kind of do a 5-year plan and project out what expenses we may have over the next 5 years. These don't necessarily have to be replaced this year, just coming year, but they're on the list. They run anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a piece. So those have been put into future years. We have the Board of Health section, the planning department section, and the gym has 4 units. So that would be the HVAC. The Town Hall handicap, this is the annex lift, will need to be replaced at some point. That lift is still functioning, but it needs to be maintained regularly, and it's getting old. The Town Hall painting, that's this building. We've received some preliminary quotes to paint the building. This is essentially just a trim because it's prevailing wage, and we have the cupola up top. They're looking at around $300,000 to $400,000 just to paint the trim on this building. I've contacted a local contractor. We're looking to get the entrances painted. Four or five doors. We have 3 main doors to the building, and then we have 1 to the basement. So we are getting a price on that. In general, the Town Hall and the annex are getting old, so we put in there roughly $500,000 in upgrades that need to be done over the next number of years. Furniture upgrades, as you can see in this room and every room in the building. It's tired, they're old. Some of the furniture was in here when the building was built and still remains and still being used. So, some of it functions well, but it's definitely at the end of its life cycle. And then we get in a couple of the bigger ones. At some point, the Town Hall Annex will probably have to get closed, and a decision will have to be made whether or not we build an addition to this building, whether or not we move to the high school. That's the big one. If we move to this building, you could easily be looking at $10 million for an addition off the bat, and then to rehab this portion of the building. I have in here $50,000 for a building inspector's truck. He's been using the electric car for years, but he can't get onto a lot of the sites. It's just not suitable for that type of work. Right now, he's been sharing the electric car with the maintenance staff. We did get a truck last year, which takes about 6 months to come in, so it should be in the next month or 2, and it's going to be shared by the building inspector and the maintenance staff, but when they really need an additional one. Cemetery truck, the pickup truck needs to be replaced, that's a priority. They use it quite a bit, all the burials, all the equipment stored on that, when they go to the different cemeteries throughout the town, they pull their equipment with that truck. They do have a couple of small dump trucks that are in fairly decent shape, but they're getting old as well. In future years, 3, 4, 5 years out, those will need to be replaced. We're looking at, then they have general equipment, so we have $50,000 over the next 5 years for general equipment. That's tractors, lawn mowing equipment, leaf blowers, weed whackers, but mainly the bigger stuff, such as lawnmower equipment and tractors. We're looking at a cemetery expansion that's currently being designed now. That design should be completed in the next month or 2. That would be for 2 sections on the north side, from the garage heading down towards Route 88. We recently, actually, as of today, they paved some of the gravel roads over there under the highway contract. We had some very good pricing on the asphalt mix, so we were able to use some perpetual care money. The select board approved that a couple of months ago, so that's done. Let's see what else. And then the last 2 are the old high school. It's either got to be reused or demolished or sold. So that, I think between the town hall, the old high school, and the annex, you're looking anywhere from, I'd say, $15 to $50 million.
Any grants available, that kind of stuff?
I will look. I haven't seen any.
Although I did get some information, I was at a Mass Municipal Association meeting of town finance committees 2 months ago, and it was brought up that the state, there is a bill pending right now. I don't have the number of the bill, that the state will put together a similar type of program that they have for schools, for municipal buildings, that they will give you a certain percentage reimbursement
That would be
towards
nice.
construction, because they're seeing so many communities in a similar situation to ours,
Yeah.
that their main town hall or some of their infrastructure buildings are just not up to par anymore. And towns and communities are just strapped for the money for it. So there is a bill that's being tossed around to set up a matching type of funding mechanism with the state, with a similar application program to that they have for schools. So at least that would be very helpful to
Yes.
many communities.
Have we thought about having some of our services that can go virtual? Like, for example, accounting, right? Like, I'm sure part of the work that's done in accounting or accounts payable or accounts receivable, some of those services could potentially go virtual or hybrid, so the need for as much space as we've had in the past might not necessarily be necessary. And also, as far as infrastructure, requiring of utilities and all of that, you could, because I'm seeing that happening in higher ed. A lot of job positions are going hybrid or remote, because there's a way now to meet, there's a way now to monitor, and all of those other things. Just something to consider as you're looking at if it's such a big expense for space. How much space do we really need?
Thanks. Good question. I don't know. We're kind of a service industry, so I don't think we're as flexible as some of the other businesses out there.
Right, well, same thing with higher ed, so you think of what are the services, and so if a town that doesn't have or doesn't want to put in money into town budget, then unfortunately some things you can't have in my opinion, you can't have an office open 8 to 6, because then that's gonna cost time for someone to be there. So sometimes you have to work within the budget constraints and say, well, we don't have the money to fund 8 to 5 days a week, so you might have to have different types of services where they are required, and what are those offices, which ones are they, have those available, and then why couldn't they do things online too, like meet with people, do bills online, and I hope I'm not gonna, but I think about the beach sticker. I mean, those now we mail in, and then it's mailed back to us. You never even have to come in for that. So just things, I guess things like that, thinking outside of the box of what we've always done to what we can do. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just remarking, good, I didn't mean.
No, I'm going off, so thank you.
We do have a lot of things that we're looking at putting online and so forth, but it's not taking us from here. We still need the people here to do the processing and so forth. It's not like a lot of these other businesses that can do things. I am thankful that during COVID, we weren't required to try to work from home. There's so much paper in here and so many things that we have to have. And as far as space, we're required to have permanent records in so many of the things that we do.
Yeah.
You know, that some of the departments that you would think would be easy to, such as accounting,
Yeah.
they're required to have all these documents. Our auditors are down the hall and it's like they're coming in going, we need a copy of this. They want to see it in our files. They want to see our files and so forth. And a lot of our stuff,
I want it digital, yeah.
no, they don't want everything
Well,
digital
There
yet.
are some accounting, because I worked in accounting for a number of years, and you can have accounting files and on the cloud and all of that. So I think looking at.
You can have it, but we're required different, municipals required different to have everything, permanent paper records of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, the
It's an
regulations,
inter-
regulations haven't caught up with technology.
Right.
So they still require a lot of stuff that
So then.
we probably shouldn't have to do, but we're required.
So I guess looking at what are all the different services that are provided, what are things that can be and can't be, and just like anything else, doing an inventory, you have to have accounting here, how much, what would that take, how many years of records, where could they go?
Some permanent forever.
I was just gonna say, our records go back to 1787.
Yeah, I think I can't imagine it's 100 year or 200 year.
Actually, they
That's
do.
pretty cool.
They are.
Really, what account?
Treasurer's records, yes, I have
So
I
is
have
that
them in
like
the
a
vault
s-
downstairs.
That's like a state or federal requirement?
Yeah, our records, a lot of our stuff
State
is permanent,
requirement.
state
So it's
requirement.
a mass state municipal? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Cause there's like 20 years in one ledger book, now it's like now it's like 3 file cabinets for 1 year, but that's beside the point.
But there may be some
Microfiche.
operations you can do remotely.
Yeah. I just find there's a lot of things, even if somebody's out for the day, I find it very difficult going back. You spend so much time on email and going back and forth trying to communicate with people. It's less efficient for what we're doing here. You know, I run down the hall, I need something from Theo. I run down the hall and talk to her, I need something from accounting. I'm upstairs, Nicole, what's this? You know, you're looking at the same documents and it's just a lot more efficient.
Do you use Teams? Microsoft Teams?
We
Because
use-
that,
We use Google Meets.
because that's like, we have that at the place where I work as well, so like we're contacting the registrar's office or the, different departments, and we just go right on, so it's not, we actually don't even have to leave our desk, it's easy enough to just almost instant message. But it is difficult it's a change, it's not an easy change, it takes time to make it so that it is an efficient process. It's not like you go from face to face to online or virtual and everything is equal. There will be or there could be a learning gap if
But to your point, there would have to be some compromises that the public will actually have to absorb if they fail to pass an override to provide additional funding, then there is a cost to that. And until the taxpayer sees that there is a cost to that, they will realize what some of the issues are. So if we're not open to the public 5 days a week from 8:30 to 4, that may not be every day. And it may only be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or 2 days a week, or whatever it may be, that those are the only days that you can conduct business here in person. So, I think things like that will be mandatory almost if we don't see some budget relief. Because something will have to give. If, you just break down the budget in total, if 54% goes to schools, and I'll call it 16% goes to payments like insurance and pension and that type of thing. So now you're up to 70%. Another 10% combined is police and fire. So now you're up to 80%. So that only leaves you 20% of the entire budget of the town for everything else, and that includes the included debt service. So I didn't even include debt service in that amount, so the amount that's not excluded from the cap. So when you think about everything else, you only have 20% of the budget to deal with all of that. So, and that's everything else. You know, that's library, Board of Health, town hall, assessors, collectors, you know, accounting, everything else, cemeteries, all, highway department, all comes under that 20%. And if you can't get some relief there, then, you know, some of those changes are gonna be not, gee, wouldn't this be a good idea? No, it's gonna be, this has to be what's gonna happen. But I guess that's not, I guess that's outside the purview
Well,
of
it's good to
a
talk about
capital
those things.
planning
Gives us
committee.
context.
But I mean, to your point, I mean, I think that it's valid that at some point we're gonna have to think outside the box.
And we're heading in that direction, right? You go back 15, 20 years ago, you look at the foot traffic in these buildings, it was significantly more than it is.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're sending information through email. You know, somebody comes in for a plan, we send it through email. They're not coming in making hard copies anymore. But there's still an awful lot of people that want to come in here and pay cash.
I was gonna say, the assessor's office is a perfect one. I mean, every time a property sold, we used to have to pull the field cards, for every broker, every realtor, every appraiser, every person. They were all in that office constantly. And now you have all those records, you've put them all online.
All up there.
It's all available to the public
Everything,
online.
everything is
So
on there.
it's,
I was just updating the website with everything.
that
There is
was,
hope.
that was one of the busiest, that was one of the busiest offices in the building, was the assessor's office back in the 80s.
Or
and
90.
80s and 90s,
I
yeah.
don't see anybody now.
Well, town hall used to be open on Monday nights. I mean,
Yes.
people would come in here Monday nights all the time to pay bills, get assessors records and whatnot, yeah.
But the increase on emails requesting that and requesting, that's where you sit there all day and you just have to answer them, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Respond to all the requests, you know?
Yeah.
That's an all day thing. So,
Okay, this list, what we have in front of us, this was handed out by Jim, this is really a 5-year, the start of our 5-year capital plan. But for the purposes of this meeting, we're talking about the column 2025 projected. So just going down, these are the things you've mentioned. But some of the things like the one Keith just talked about, fiber loops and one, that's really projected for next year. Although it's 65 for the firewall and 550 for the engineering planner in there.
Could
So
I
it's
ask what the yellow boxes mean?
Yellow boxes mean.
funded, right?
Funding from other
Or
source,
is that,
like the recreational bicentennial playground, 350.
I did know what it meant at one point. I don't know what it means right now.
well, we get grants for the HVAC, right? That's the green communities that the Stanley.
Yes, the HVAC system.
So they did get funded from,
The recreational, that's bicentennial playground, that has not been funded. I think the yellow ones were what was
the
put in last
bicentennial.
year.
Yeah,
Playground
I was
got
gonna say,
funded
Those were
from-
last year
No,
requests.
I remember.
Yeah.
The pickup truck and then the.
Yeah, highway pickup truck.
So are you saying that?
So I would say disregard the yellow for now.
Yeah, okay, that's.
Okay, but how about when it
Because
says
this
FY
is the other
'23 or
playground,
FY
not that, the
'24?
ones down here is
What do
funded.
those mean?
FY '23, that's when it was originally submitted.
Oh, okay.
FY '23.
Okay. So we got the truck, the cemetery truck. Yeah, I would hope that would eventually come out of the funds from the cemetery,
Yes.
perhaps. The same with the cemetery expansion. I did have a question on cemetery expansions. Is there any additional space, or is this pretty much?
This pretty much takes up what we have over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So that's something else that we're gonna have to be looking for is another location.
Okay, the beach committee truck, beach committee fence, those, they have an enterprise fund there. Beach committee parking lot improvements. And Keith talked about the other IT things. So those are the ones we're focusing on for general government. Okay? Are there any questions on any of this? Do you want to go over this, Fort? We've been using it and talking about it.
So this is just, we just assembled the requests that have come in from the various departments onto one sheet. A number of the departments have projected out 4 or 5 years, or have a number of requests that will go out 4 or 5 years. So we tried to put those in the respective years as to when the request would be warranted. There's also a number that we need to go through, like the school department has a number of requests. Their requests came in like, they do have some priorities that I listed there. And we'll have to move some of those requests into future years going forward.
This is good, it's nice to have it all laid out that way. Okay,
So I guess it's homework after this meeting, if you can kind of go through this list and maybe start prioritizing, giving some thoughts to prioritization of where we want to go.
So at this time, we've received all our requests from everybody. There's nobody else requesting anything.
No.
Not that the list isn't big enough.
If you have fiscal year '23 on here, that this was when it was first received, anything that had been requested prior to that has been satisfied? I'm just trying to look, for dating purposes, like what's the oldest?
Yeah, I would say, these are from my list.
Okay.
There was some lists previous
Okay,
to me, kind of keeping track. I just, the last 2 years that we had, I tried to, just to give you an idea. If these things showed up on the list again, we've had things on previous lists that are not on the new ones,
okay.
for whatever reason.
For whatever
So those
reason
are
it was
not on.
withdrawn?
But if they were replaced again and put on the most
Okay.
recent list, I've included them and I've kind of identified the year that they were originally proposed.
Okay,
We've actually picked, I don't want to say picked up, this committee in the town has funded a lot of projects over the last couple of years, with free cash money, with,
right. And
ARPA funding.
ARPA funds, I think, helped.
yeah, quite a bit.
Do we know how much funding we're going to have for this year yet?
We don't. Free cash, I think, is gonna be fairly substantial. How that gets divided up, I don't, the selectmen hasn't made a determination yet.
well, this list totals $17 million. That includes some things that I missed on here. The district early childhood education.
So that should be district early childhood education and admin offices. That's the combination.
What was concluded on that in terms of budgeting for 2020?
They just proposed it.
I mean, is that a capital item? Sounds like it.
I was gonna say, some of these things would be more, that's something we'd definitely need borrowing for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did the schools, did they provide a justification sheet with all the expenses? I don't have it.
They did send a
They have some.
spreadsheet, yes.
But was it
It was good
more like
print.
not a word document, but besides the numbers, didn't they have an explanation
They did,
as to
they had a
what the
little-
costs were? That's what I'm trying to figure out, I don't remember off the top of my head
Well, yeah, I didn't see that.
what it stated, so.
I can send that around.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this, does it look like this or is this antiquated?
It does look
No, I
something
have
like that, but
one
it's-
that I
it's
was
lengthy.
able to get a page to print.
It had details of, almost like in the justification for it, and why they were
Okay.
requesting it. So if we can't find it, I can ask
No,
Michelle
I
to
do
send
have it, I can send that on.
Yeah, send it to me too, because I missed it.
It's in Google Docs, which does not work very well with our system, but,
Oh,
Talking about technology, right?
yeah, it should not be that difficult to work with.
I was also curious that the schools did not include any technology in their requests going forward. I would think that the laptops that were purchased, 2-3 years ago now, would, some of which may have, disappeared, broken, whatnot. I would think that as a regular program, I don't know if it's part of the budget, I suppose Finance Committee can ask them when they come in for their budget, but there is not a single technology item included in their plan. Currently, we're going forward.
Was that for discussion or you just?
I'm just curious, I just find that interesting that these are much more building related and not so much, it doesn't include equipment for, I guess field
Okay,
lights
that might be
are-
the one I'm thinking of. I was
are
thinking
one of the
word
things,
doc,
but,
that might be it.
I haven't seen
I
it.
guess I'm just surprised that they did not
Yeah,
include
okay.
any technology.
But they'll be
This-
coming in to see you soon.
Well, soon might not be, they'll be coming in to see the finance committee.
Yeah,
I don't
as
know.
part
if
of the
it'll be soon.
usual
Yeah, yeah.
presentations, yeah, okay. Well, I'll have to listen in on that. Are they coming in at the next meeting, or is, you know?
The schools, I don't think are scheduled to meet with the finance committee until late February.
All right. Okay, Jim, any further wrap-up comments on any of this?
That's all I have.
Okay. The next item is topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance. I don't have any of those, do we? I did want to ask about the next meeting and also the time. So we're trying to get back into our customary once every other week schedule, but the 2 weeks from now is the week between Christmas and New Year's, I believe. So I was going to suggest if we can stand it and wait 3 weeks, we could do it on January
4th,
3rd, 4th, 5th. What's the date on that?
4th, January 4th is the Thursday.
Thursday? Okay, is that, and is 3:30 acceptable? We
Sure.
tried it at 3, but I don't know, how does that work?
So, let me just check my calendar because that week I have something every day, but let me see on the 4th what time my thing is. I'm not gonna be able to be here on the 4th, so, 'cause I have a meeting that starts at 2 and is gonna probably go to 5, so whatever time, because I
Yeah,
won't be able
okay.
to be.
Yeah, there's no penalty if you can't make it. That's why we have more than a few people on this committee. Yeah, I'd like to not go later than that. The only option would be to do it sooner, but that's, I don't know if you want to, if there's people around between Christmas and New Year's, but some people take vacation.
I think we'll have a better idea after January 1st what free
Yeah.
cash might be and what's available for some of these projects.
All right, well, let's go for January 4th. That's a Thursday,
Okay.
Kayla? 3:30. And don't worry, Melissa will.
So should we be, what you're saying is in the meantime for that meeting, be reviewing what we feel would be priorities?
I think that'd be a good idea, to get a general idea what you think.
All right.
So the priorities, and we'd start to talk about money too, and funding. That's a-
I think we'll have an idea on funding.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be at the agenda, minutes and all that, but,
And then when
Start
would the
with-
next meeting be after that, the 11th or?
yeah, I'd like to, well, no, it'd be the 2
18th.
weeks, 18th. Yeah, does that work?
But would we want to go, how quickly do we need this stuff ready for finance committee?
Not until February, right?
Okay.
February 6th, is that the date?
I don't know.
February,
Yeah.
somewhere,
We've got some time.
first,
Our budget
first
is
week
fine.
in February, second
Yeah,
week in
yeah.
February.
Well, if we've had all the presentations done, now it's just a matter of ranking them, and then we have to talk about funding sources. Most of the time, we do that in one meeting, and spill over to 2. So on January 4th, we would be pretty far along, and then we can play it by ear. So we're getting there, and this is good. This is laid out in such a way we can, I think, make some informed decisions.
I think one thing that would help is we have priorities from the school department, but if the school department could prioritize their priorities,
Okay.
it might help a bit.
That's an, I guess he's giving you an action assignment.
Well, I have a meeting after this one, so.
Okay, so we know when we're meeting again, what we're gonna be talking about, and if there's nothing else to come before the committee, a motion to adjourn would be most welcome.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor, say aye. The meeting is concluded. Thank you.